Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Cowboys urged to sign 105-sack future Hall of Famer. While there has been, over the course of this odd and rocky offseason for the Dallas Cowboys, a move to get younger in many sports, there is still something to be said for a bit of veteran experience, isn't there? Sure, the offensive line has been overhauled with what could be 2 rookie starters, and there figures to be at least 1 rookie or second-year linebacker in the rotation, maybe 3, but there is something to be said for the old heads. And it does not get much older than Calais Campbell by NFL standards, who at age 37, would rank among the 10 oldest non-kickers in the league. That's if Campbell, a free agent, finds a team for 2024, at least. With the Cowboys looking for defensive line help and Campbell looking for a place where he can compete for a Super Bowl, there should, perhaps, be mutual interest. That's if the Cowboys could pry him away from the Falcons, who could yet re-sign Campbell if he does decide to play a 17th season. Still, at the Cowboys site Blogging the Boys, Campbell is tabbed as one of the 3 post-draft moves the Dallas Cowboys should make to complete their roster, in an article of the same name. Here's what writer Brian Martin put forth on the subject of Campbell coming to the Star. At 37 years old, Calais Campbell is no longer the player he once was, but still has enough gas in the tank to help the Cowboys' defensive front. Dallas is still painfully thin along the interior of their DL, and Campbell's addition would help tremendously. He's still a great run defender and would be an excellent mentor. Campbell will go down as one of the great pass rushers of all time, and a likely Hall of Famer. He has been a 6-time Pro Bowl selection and was the Sporting News Defensive Player of the Year for 2017. He has 105.5 career sacks, which is 48th all-time and is one of only 64 players in the history of the NFL to log more than 100 sacks. In a headline this offseason, the New York Jets site Jets Press declared Campbell a future Hall of Famer. Getting to Canton can sometimes be a weird process, but Campbell's credentials are hard to argue. The Cowboys have some talent on the defensive front, with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence on the edges and Osa Odigizua in the middle with Motzie Smith, who will be under pressure to perform after a lackluster rookie year, at nose tackle. Dallas needs depth and leadership behind that front, though, and Campbell would be a quality addition on both fronts. But Campbell, who spent 9 seasons with the Cardinals before going to the Ravens, Jaguars and, on a 1-year deal for 2023, the Falcons might be inclined to stick with the Falcons after logging 6.5 sacks there. Campbell logged a Pro Football Focus grade of 80.0 last season, which was more than respectable. It was 23rd among all 112 graded edge defenders. New Falcons coach Raheem Morris has met with Campbell and left open the possibility of welcoming him back to Atlanta. I look forward to getting a chance to sit in front of him because he's as impressive as it gets when it comes to football character, Morris said in March. He's had as impressive of a career as you can have. There's stuff that he still brings to the game, to us, moving forward, and I look forward to discussing that in detail with him at a later date. But getting him in Dallas could be a nice score for the Cowboys. Eric Kendricks reveals why he chose to sign with Cowboys over 49ers. The Dallas Cowboys were considered one of the losers of the first week of free agency as they opted to stand pat while several free agents came off the board. Dallas' decision to let players sign elsewhere was puzzling, especially after the way they flamed out of the NFL playoffs. However, the Cowboys eventually made a signing when they brought in veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks. Kendricks spent the 2023 NFL season with the Los Angeles Chargers, but prior to that was with the Minnesota Vikings for 8 seasons where he earned a first-team All-Pro nod in 2019. Kendricks reportedly had deal to sign with the San Francisco 49ers but wound up signing with the Cowboys instead. The veteran eventually revealed why he decided to go to Dallas instead of San Francisco, via John Machota of The Athletic and NBC Sports Bay Area. I think I would have taken more of a reserved role in San Francisco, whereas I feel I have a lot left to give, and I wanted to be here and be middle linebacker, Kendricks told Machota. I wanted to share my experience with the team, share my leadership abilities, and command that huddle. Kendricks essentially admits he wanted a larger role, which he should have after Dallas had some key players like Leighton Vander Esch retire. Kendricks also gets the opportunity to reunite with defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer, who was his head coach in Minnesota. All in all, it sounds like the perfect chance for Kendricks to earn snaps and make a tangible impact on the defense. Cowboys predicted to land most polarizing star QB to replace Dak Prescott. It's a bit unusual for the Cowboys to be in the depths of the 2024 NFL offseason, with a quarterback on the roster who was a Pro Bowler and an MVP candidate, a guy who was third in the NFL with 4,516 yards, first in completion percentage, 69.5%, first in touchdowns, 36, and second in rating, 105.9, and yet still be uncertain about the franchise's future at the league's most important position. That's just the way things are for the team and Dak Prescott, whose regular season heroics were not enough to stave off another NFL playoff bust, as the team flamed out against the Packers at home in the opening round. With Prescott heading into the final year of his contract, his future in Dallas is strangely murky. But USA Today offers some comfort, hypothetical though it may be. In its early 2025 NFL mock draft, the site has the Cowboys landing the son of franchise legend and Colorado coach Deion Sanders, quarterback Shedeur Sanders, to replace Prescott. While there's plenty of time for Dak Prescott to iron out an agreement to stay in Dallas for the foreseeable future, the 8-year veteran hasn't engaged in any contract talks yet and can force his way onto the free agent market, where he'd be sure to command an astronomical payday, the site noted this week. If the nightmare scenario somehow materializes for Jerry Jones, having Sanders take the reins to the Cowboys' attack would be a fascinating possibility. During last season, USA Today's Kurt Popejoy declared Sanders the most polarizing prospect in the country. That's not an issue for the Cowboys, of course. He was right, no question. After 2 stellar seasons at Jackson State, he followed his father to the Boulder last year and made an immediate splash when he threw for 510 yards and 4 touchdowns against 16th-ranked TCU in his Colorado debut. That was followed by 6 touchdowns, 1 interception and 941 yards in his next 2 games, both wins, against Nebraska and Colorado State. From there, Sanders kept up the numbers, but the Buffaloes went 1-7, taking some bloom off his rose and nudging him to return for his senior season rather than testing the 2024 NFL Draft, which was top-heavy on quarterbacks, with 6 picked in the first 12 selections. Despite the record, and despite the quality of players at the QB spot in this record-setting draft, Sanders drew attention for saying he was better than all of them. "I'm biased, but I don't see a quarterback that's better than me," Sanders told Sports Illustrated's Bryce Butler during Super Bowl week. "I don't see a quarterback that went through as much adversity as me, that had 4 offensive coordinators in 4 years. Coming from an HBCU, coming to a Power 5 program, having real pressure on me. A lot of people don't understand, that's a lot more adversity than you think just even being the son of Deion Sanders." While Sanders' self-promotion might seem like bombast, he does have his supporters. ESPN's Field Yates wrote that Sanders might be the first pick of the draft, which would make him all but unattainable for the Cowboys barring a blockbuster trade. "I actually think Sanders feels like the early leader to be the first pick in the draft, as his elite pocket passing is beyond impressive. How he can carve up a defense when given time and space is legit," Yates said. But the Draft Network tabs him as a day 2 pick, emblematic of the split among scouts when it comes to Sanders. His 49 sacks taken are a big red flag. Sanders tends to hold the football longer in the pocket. This leads to unnecessary sacks and hits. He will sit and wait for routes to break free from the coverage, the site wrote. He'd be a fascinating presence in Dallas, just as his father was in his time with the Cowboys. And you, Fan, what do you think of the situation of Shedeur Sanders? Leave your opinion in the comments.